There's this actor you've definitely seen, but probably can't name. Pale blue eyes, unmistakable German accent, that face that makes every scene feel slightly off-kilter in the best way possible. Udo Kier, he just died at 81, and I need to talk about why that matters. This one hits different. Not because he was a household name or because the world's going to stop, but because a certain type of actor just doesn't exist anymore. The weirdo, the cult icon who could show up in anything from Warhol films to Blade to a Madonna music video and make it all feel connected somehow. That was Udo Kier, and cinema just got a little less strange. Let me tell you how I first encountered him, because I guarantee your story is just as bizarre. Mine was Blade, 1998. I'm a kid watching Wesley Snipes slice through vampires, and there's this scene in a blood rave where this pale, unsettling German guy gets absolutely incinerated. He's on screen for maybe 5 minutes total, but I remembered him. That face, that voice. Years later, I'm watching Lars von Trier's Melancholia, and there he is again, playing a wedding planner with this weary, seen-it-all energy. Then Dogville. Then I go backwards and discover my own private Idaho. Then the Warhol films. And suddenly you realise this guy has been everywhere, hiding in plain sight, making everything he touches just a little bit stranger. That was Udo Kier's superpower. He never played normal. He couldn't. Even when the role was straightforward, he'd find the angle, the slight tilt that made you uncomfortable or fascinated or both. He had this quality where you couldn't tell if he was in on the joke or if he was the joke or if there was no joke at all. And this was just who he was. That ambiguity made him magnetic. Let's talk about the Warhol films, because that's where it started for him. Flesh for Frankenstein and Blood for Dracula, both made in the early 70s, both directed by Paul Morrissey and produced by Andy Warhol. These movies are insane, campy, bloody, sexually charged, completely unhinged reimaginings of classic monster stories. And Kier plays both Frankenstein and Dracula like they're pathetic aristocrats desperately clinging to relevance. His Frankenstein is obsessed with creating the perfect Serbian specimens. His Dracula is a sickly, virgin blood addict withering away in a hostile modern world. Both performances are ridiculous. Both are also kind of heartbreaking. What Kier understood, and what makes these films more than just exploitation trash, is that monsters are tragic figures. They're powerful, but impotent. Immortal, but decaying, trying to control a world that's already moved on without them. He plays them with this weird mixture of menace and comedy and genuine pathos. You laugh at them. Then you feel bad for laughing. Then you realise that's the whole point. These films made him famous in the underground circuit, and they established the template for everything he'd do next. Take the genre seriously, but never take yourself seriously. Then he spent the 80s working with Rainer Werner Fassbinder, one of the greatest German filmmakers ever. Films like The Station Master's Wife and Lily Marlene. Fassbinder made better, beautiful films about power and desire and the rot underneath polite society, and Kier fit right in. He had that European art film energy, elegant but damaged, aristocratic but corrupted. He understood how to play moral decay without being obvious about it. Then came the turn that changed everything. Gus Van Sant. They met at the Berlin Film Festival, hit it off, and Van Sant basically brought Kier to America, got him a work permit, a SAG card, the whole thing, and in 1991 Van Sant cast him in My Own Private Idaho, this dreamy, heartbreaking film about hustlers in Portland, loosely based on Shakespeare. River Phoenix and Keanu Reeves are the leads, but Kier shows up in a supporting role, and he's got this world-weary sweetness to him. It's a small part, but it announced to American audiences, this guy can do more than just play creeps and monsters. He's got range, he's got soul. And then Lars von Trier entered the picture. This collaboration lasted over 30 years. Starting with Epidemic in the late 80s, then Europa, then The Kingdom, von Trier's surreal horror thriller TV series where Kier plays this spiritualist medium. Then Breaking the Waves, Dancer in the Dark, Dogville, Melancholia, Nymphomaniac. Von Trier kept casting him, sometimes in tiny roles, sometimes in substantial ones, because Kier understood von Trier's wavelength, the darkness, the absurdity, the cruelty underneath the beauty. In Melancholia, Kier plays the wedding planner at Kirsten Dunst's character's disastrous reception. He's so tired, so done with these rich people and their problems, while a planet hurtles toward Earth. He delivers his lines with this bone-deep exhaustion that's funnier and sadder than any joke could be. That's peak Udo Kier, making you laugh and feel existential dread simultaneously. But here's the thing about Kier that makes him so special. He never lost his sense of humour about any of this. He appeared in Ace Ventura, pet detective, as a pretentious art dealer. He was in Armageddon. He showed up in Madonna's sex book and her Erotica music video, just leaning into the camp and the controversy. Because why not? He treated a Michael Bay disaster movie with the same commitment he brought to a Lars von Trier meditation on depression. He didn't distinguish between high art and low trash. It was all just work. It was all just cinema. That's increasingly rare. We live in an era where actors are brands, where every role is calculated for Oscar potential or franchise longevity. Kier came from a different tradition, the European tradition of just being a working actor, taking interesting roles, showing up, doing the work, moving on. He wasn't chasing respectability, he was chasing strangeness, and that made him invaluable. When you watch his filmography, you're essentially getting a guided tour through the last 50 years of adventurous cinema. Warhol's transgressive 70s underground, Fassbinder's new German cinema, von Trier's provocation, Gus Van Sant's indie 90s, the weird overlap between European art films and American genre movies. Kier was the connective tissue between all of it. He was the guy who could move between worlds because he never fully belonged to any of them. And that's what we're losing. Not just Udo Kier the actor, but what he represented. A type of performer who exists outside the system, who works constantly but never sells out, who treats every role, no matter how small, no matter how absurd, with total commitment, who understands that cinema is supposed to be strange and dangerous and funny and sad all at once. There's a moment in My Own Private Idaho where Kier's character tells River Phoenix's character about beauty and youth and how fleeting it all is. It's a small scene, barely there, but Kier plays it with this gentle melancholy that makes you stop and listen. That was his gift. He could make you stop, make you notice. Even in the background of a shot, even in a throwaway role, he had this gravity. He was born in Cologne during a bombing raid in World War II, moved to London at 18 after meeting Fassbinder in a bar, spent decades working between Europe and America before settling in Palm Springs, where he lived in a converted mid-century library and collected art. He was a fixture at the Palm Springs Film Festival. People loved him there. He was warm, generous, funny. By all accounts, he was exactly who he seemed to be, a guy who loved cinema, loved working, loved the strangeness of it all. His last film was The Secret Agent, which premiered at Cannes this year. Even at 81, he was still working, still showing up, still doing the thing he'd been doing since he was 18 years old. That's a life in cinema. That's what devotion looks like. So here's what I want you to do. If you don't know Udo Kier, start with My Own Private Idaho, then watch Melancholia. Then if you're feeling adventurous, track down Blood for Dracula and watch him play the world's saddest vampire. Let yourself fall into his filmography. Let yourself discover why this weird German guy with the pale eyes and the unmistakable voice mattered so much to so many filmmakers. And if you already know him, if you've been watching him for years, then you already understand what we lost. An era just ended. The era of the true character actor, the weirdo, the cult icon who made every frame he was in feel like it could go sideways at any moment. Cinema needs people like that, and now there's one less. Rest in peace, Udo Kier. You were strange and beautiful and entirely yourself. We'll miss you. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.